All right. Well, hello and welcome back to our first official episode of this podcast. With the same hosts. Yes. So we wanted, obviously, you know that this is a YWAM Urban Key podcast. We've been talking about that in the last introductory episode, which means that we live in community, if you don't know. And so we thought, what a better way to start this podcast than talking about the drama. Just kidding.
I like it.
Of living in community and like what that means, what that looks like. Because I think for us, not only as YWAMers, not only as missionaries, we are living in community, not because we just happen to rent rooms next to each other or like share rooms with people, but actually that's the lifestyle we feel called to, is like to live in community, to work together, to like live alongside each other, to walk in discipleship like next to each other fully, like physically, you know? And these are all like really strong blessings, but also it can come with challenges. And I feel like that's something, at least I get asked all the time. Like when people are like, sorry, you're 31 and you have a roommate. And I'm like, yeah, I have a bunkmate. It's like next level of roommatehood, you know? And it's not bad, but it's definitely, I think something worth talking about, you know? So my first question for the group, for the team, is, what has been something that's been quite shocking for you in living in community, whether that's a cultural shock or, what's been shocking for you?
I think something small for me, I was saying this to the guys earlier, is that, like, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up eating dinner at like 5 or 6 at the latest, and like having dinner or like eating food.
Like 5 or 6 face right now, she's disgusted.
like that's merienda where I come from.
Yeah, like 5:30, I would say is like a good time to have dinner. My mom can correct me. Maybe
even as an adult.
Yeah,
Wanda.
Shout out to Wanda. I love you.
Like it's a really shallow thing, maybe, or like not a super deep thing. Yeah. But I remember first coming here and being really thrown off by that. Thrown off by eating dinner so late, or like I don't know, having food at different times. Like you don't realize how like I don't know, mundane things like are so ingrained. You know,
yeah, so true.
Like something so small. So that's something that like. Yeah, maybe not shocking, but it definitely like threw me off. You know?
I mean, for the record, we do have dinner at like 7, generally speaking.
Yeah, but like if we have like a party or something, we're eating at like 9.
You know? No, we say it's at 9.
Yeah, and then we eat at 10. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
But really 6?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Like, so in the UK, like generally, I feel like you eat at 5 or 6, like. When you're a child, because then because then
you're a child,
like, you have like bedtime, right? And then the adults have their dinner, maybe, unless you're like probably like a wholesome like family where like you all sit down to eat at like 6 or 7, you know, probably 6 or 5 or 6, and then the kids will go to sleep, and then mum and dad will probably have like a tea with like a after 8 or something, you know.
After 8, I love after 8.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, that is a chocolate mint. It's delicious. You should try it.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
What about you, Flo?
I think for me it was like everyone talks about like sharing rooms or like toilets, but for me that was never really shocking. For me it was shocking that for other people it was like shocking. You know, I grew up with like in a big family, and also we always have people, and like we only have one toilet for like the 10 of us, and so like I was used to it. So for me it was like really normal, and like I don't know, well, we're talking about mundane things, I guess there's more things as we speak. But I don't know, I think also working and living with the same people, and like having to have differences in like your friendships or relationship and the people that you're working, but you also your co-workers, but your family and your friends as well, and you're in the same ministries, and it gets like confusing if you don't have your feelings in the right place, but the feelings go everywhere, so like it's just like a mix of things. If you're not mature enough, like those things can get like messy, so like I think it's trying to find the balance of like life, friendship, family at the same time, but it's something beautiful at the same time when you know how to like pass beyond like yourself, you know,
Yeah.
because like living in community is not about yourself, or like sharing a room is not about yourself. I guess like also again I share room my whole life, you know, so like for me it was normal. But there's other things as well, like culture and like dinners at different time, breakfast, someone waking up at 6 and banging on the doors and you're like,
Oh my god.
you know,
Or
but
singing like outside your bedroom door.
yeah, like
Come on.
No.
No, I think that's such a good point. That also I've been so challenged over these last 10 years of like how to balance the work life, work family life, you know, like even talking about Sabbath or resting and like what that looks like when you live with 30 people who are also used to you doing all of their administrative letters, you know. So I don't know, I come down on a Sunday at 10 like my hair in a bun and looking rough, you know, like ready for my coffee, and someone's like, can you write me that letter? And I'm like, oh my god, you know. So I think like not only in a practical way, but that work-life balance, I don't know if work-life is work-home, work-home balance is something really like challenging. So what has that been like for you guys?
I think like also for like clarity for everybody who doesn't know our setup, we work and we live in the same place. So we've got a big house, which for London is rather big. For anybody else in these circumstances, especially when we're like, I live with like 30 people, everybody's like in shock.
In an 11-bedroom house.
I mean, it is a lot, really. So, but we work there and we live there at the same time. So I think that's a really good point, that sometimes it's really difficult to know, like, I don't know, at work you've got like clock in, clock out, you know, and then like now I'm in work mode and now I'm like, I'm going home mode, you know, like I watch TV and sometimes I see the people who are like, I need to wear my trainers so I can get to work, and then I put my fancy shoes on, you know. But how many times have we rolled out of bed and we're like, here I am, you know. So I think sometimes finding that balance can be really like difficult, because you're like, sometimes you can like get a bit sluggish and you're like, well, I live with these people, so why am I going to make an effort, you know. But sometimes it's actually really loving to do that. And so thinking about love in a very different way, you know, because it's not something that you'd think about, maybe I should put makeup on because that's loving to people, you know. It's like, what? But yeah, like actually making an effort can be quite loving to people. So it makes you think in a completely different way. Now, that doesn't mean that because I live in community, that's loving. And if I don't live in community, then therefore it's not. I think it's just about like adapting yourself into different ways and about learning to kind of go an extra mile depending on the circumstances that you're in, you know. I grew up in community, like, well, not really actually, but yes. So my family has been in missions pretty much since I was like 2. Come from a long line of missionaries. Woo. And we had our own home in Argentina till I was about 10 when we moved to the UK, and then we've lived in community ever since then, you know. So we like left that to come into community. Now as a child, I loved that, right? You're like, you get to be with your mates, you know, you get to be with the adults who are like not your family, so they don't get on your nerves. You want to be with those adults, you know. And then when I was a teenager and maybe even now into adulthood, it's like I need my own personal space, you know. And I think sometimes that can be the most challenging thing for me, is like where those boundaries can be sometimes in community living. But it's a learning process. So
for sure.
I think it's hard to know, because there's boundaries that you set for yourself, right? There's boundaries you set of like, this is my time, this is when I want to expend energy, or also to know what is human love, what is like, sometimes I need to put a boundary and that's healthy, you know. And sometimes that can be hard of knowing where is the boundary, but at the same time, where is the sacrificial love, you know. I know that's something I struggle with, you know. It's like, okay, I want to put this boundary, for example, in the example I used before, I'm going to put this boundary where I don't do any admin work on Sunday, you know. But then of course there's always a situation, there's always something that also like requires that sacrificial element, or like that going the extra mile, you know. And there is blessing in that, but I guess sometimes it is hard to find the balance between the two, to know when you put your boundaries, because I think also as a culture, especially right now, you know, it's very common to be like, this is my self-care and these are my boundaries, and you don't cross my boundary, and I'm actually not in the mood to give love right now, and it's like, valid. There's like a level of that that's valid and healthy for sure. And I'm not discounting that, but there is another level that also I've never experienced like such sacrificial love in a daily way. I don't think, you know, like my family's amazing and it's not to discount them at all, but especially with people who are not your family, who go the extra mile to like love you and serve you and bless you when you're in a bad mood, you're like looking rough, feeling rough, like I don't know, you just sometimes you want to burn down the world, you know? Like I don't know. And yet there's always that person who's like, hey, you doing okay? And you're like, you know. So I don't know, I feel like it's difficult to give sacrificial love sometimes, but how much more heavy and like beautiful it is to receive it, you know? And I think I've really experienced that in community.
I think something else that like is really kind of similar to what you're saying that I've like has really like taught me so much, but like through living in community and has been such a blessing to me has been generosity. Like I have seen generosity in insane ways that I don't really know that I would have seen if I hadn't like been in YWAM, you know, maybe YWAM or living in community or whatever you want to label it. Like there's ways that like I've been blessed, like what you're saying, sacrificial love, but like giving time, you know, like time is a huge one. Like I find, I don't know, like when people are generous with their time, it means so much to me, you know, or like even generous with little things, like every single like party that we have, someone's doing my hair and someone's doing my makeup and so I'm borrowing someone's clothes and you're like, okay, that's kind of weird sometimes, but you know, like, okay, boundaries, like maybe you don't wear each other's clothes, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, there is something really beautiful, I think, in that, and like, that's something that I have been like, really amazed to see actually, and like really blessed by is the generosity of also your family, you know, like welcoming us here and like having us live in your home. I know that it's all of our homes, but like that's really like really powerful.
And for context, my whole family lives with me and these guys too. My grandparents are the base leaders alongside my parents, and me and my younger sister, we decided to work with YWAM too, and I personally, I don't know that my sister too, but I can't speak for her right now. We both, and I had a word from God to come and work with my family in YWAM. So I always say this, I don't advise it to anybody unless you have a word from God, because actually like, and we've experienced this also in living in community, you know your family the best, right? Because you know them because you live with them, so you know their everything, their every move, their every like biggest thing that is their pet peeve, but also like what is your pet peeve about them and everything. So working with your family can actually be very dangerous, you know, and it can really like destroy your family in a sense, but at the same time it can be a huge blessing. But it, you know, just because you have a word from God doesn't mean that you're handling in the right way, you know, and that's happened to me many times in the past. But at the same time it is a huge privilege, and I see how my family has been used by God to be of a blessing to so many people, you know, like what you were saying, like I think many people, especially nowadays, like come from very broken households, not that they come from like broken families necessarily, but like I think even the picture, like the godly picture and image of what God intended for there to be in a family, in a household, is so tainted. Like even in my family, like we're not perfect, you know, but many people haven't even had a mum or a dad or even siblings, you know, and so in many ways that's also been something that we've been able to share just in us being, you know. Sometimes it's actually weird because we'll sit at the table and then everybody's just like around my family and they're all watching and I'm like what are you doing, like leave, you know, like go somewhere else, you know. But sometimes I have to stop and think, oh, actually like people are seeing an interaction that for me is just like, why are you watching me? But they're actually seeing an interaction that they've never seen before, and it's not just like something that's like entertaining, although we are kind of entertaining sometimes, but it's also something that is like also healing, you know. So that's kind of cool. But what I wanted to know is also like, because for example, something that for me has been interesting about living in community is that when I step out of community, I feel like I'm not like on the same wavelength or something. Like I realize how accustomed I've gotten to some things that are actually like not normal for most people, if that makes sense, you know? Sure. So what is your normal that's not normal, if that makes sense?
That's a good question.
Oh, that's not normal. You got an example?
Okay, yeah. So like I was thinking about this because my sister just moved into her new home. She's just married recently, and so they've got their new home. And what's not normal, this is going to be really small, but what's not normal is that people have multiple bathrooms. Right? People generally have one bathroom, but we have at least like 6 bathrooms, right? With showers and everything, you know? And so if there's a bathroom that's busy, I'm like, I have to go to the next one. And what is my biggest pet peeve, maybe not yours, is that I hate when the downstairs bathroom is busy when I'm downstairs because I have to go all the way upstairs, right? But now, especially because I was just with her moving in, there's only one bathroom and you have to wait.
You're just standing there.
You know?
It's true.
So, I mean, that's a small one, but I don't know. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah. I think on the line of bathrooms, I was thinking this the last time I was home. Like, I'm so used to bringing my clothes into the bathroom with me and changing inside of the bathroom, toilet, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that's not normal. Like, when I was home, it's like, people, like, you don't do that. You don't bring your clothes in and, like, get changed in the bathroom. Yeah. Like, you put on a towel and you walk to your room. You know? But we obviously can't really do that, you know? But that's also like a small one, but like, something weird.
I think for me it's like, sorry. But like also like cooking, because like we have, for those who don't know, like we also have like we all rotate in like cooking meals. In a normal family, everyone cooks like either lunch and dinner, you know, and they have to prepare for the whole week. We only cook like once a week. You know, like we like have that privilege, like we cook for everyone, but someone is cooking for us one of our lunches or one of our dinners. And for me it was like, oh, normal people have to cook that every day and like plan that and do the shopping for that. But we have a team, or we have people that like have volunteer or something like that. And I'm like, wow, I only have to cook once a week, you know, even though I love cooking. Or like cleaning as well. We have one thing to clean instead of the whole house, you know. We're asking Eddie to like one thing, like one toilet, but people have to clean like the whole house, probably like twice a week. I don't know. That for me was like not normal. I was like, wait, what? Why it's not everyone the same page? You know? I don't know, that was for me like my not normal, I guess.
Also a small thing, but the other day I was going to work because I work for another charity, and I forgot my keys, and I was talking to someone who's like, but how did you like forget your keys? Like, how are you gonna get in your house? And I was like, someone's always home. Like someone will always answer the door.
Gosh, I never thought about
unless you have had the sad experience, which has only happened one time, where somebody got locked out at night and it was a sad situation. But more often than not, 90% of the time, somebody's home to open the door.
But so not to call that person out, but that's also because they didn't call anybody who is inside.
I know.
But
but it's crazy, you know, like that somebody will always be there to answer the door. That's not normal.
No, it's true. Yeah, I never have to worry about any packages getting delivered. Like
somebody will always be there.
Like, you know how everybody has like the Ring doorbells? I'm like, I see like them being completely pointless, you know?
It's
but
true.
Obviously, like, you want to know who's ringing the bell, where they're leaving the package and all that kind of stuff, you know? But like, I know somebody's going to see it.
It's so true.
Or like in case like you're missing something, you know, you're like, oh, I don't have like, I don't know, clean socks, some example. And someone's like, I want to give it to you. Like, I have this for you and you can use it. I'm like, what? Like, you gave me your socks? Like, I don't know, that socks is a stupid example, but like anything, like, oh, you need like a charger? Take here, here's mine.
That's
like,
so true.
Oh,
this is where things become a blessing.
We did talk about hot
tea.
This is a
tea. Sometimes this is where, also, in my opinion, I feel like all of us collectively also need to like learn boundaries in some ways, because there's like also kind of like what I said about borrowing clothes. Like, like, I don't know, maybe like you also have to ask to borrow my clothes. You can't just grab my clothes. They're not your clothes, they're my clothes, you know? Which is, that's healthy, that's normal, that's a good thing, you know?
So normal.
But I think we get so used to sharing everything that it's like, oh, well then obviously they'll like, if I ask them, they would say yes, so I can take it. But it's like, that's not actually how it works. Great example. I have a charger. We all have little boxes.
She's
not
upset about it. Clearly, she's very calm.
I'm railing it in. But I have a charger that says, I labeled it because I knew this would happen.
Abigail.
It says Abby. And on the back, it says, ask before using.
It does.
yeah.
It does.
It really
does.
Please ask before using
Yeah,
even.
very kind.
I can't confirm the please, but I know it says ask.
And I can't tell you how many times I come and I see my charger being used without it being asked. And I know it's like, it's such a small thing, right? Like, it's just a charger, Abby, calm down. It's principle. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for sure.
Like, I think there is also, like, sometimes we do need to learn or, like, get better at, like, asking first, you know,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like being like, even sometimes I'll be washing dishes. This is also a new pet peeve of mine. I'll be washing dishes. People will come up behind me and just put their dishes in the sink.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't mind washing your dishes. I really don't. But just ask me. Like,
Yeah.
just say, hey, do you mind washing? You know,
Yeah.
like, I think
Maybe I was like timing where I was going, and that's adding
Yeah.
30 seconds to my time,
Exactly.
and I don't got
And I
time.
don't have that 30 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it's like
It's
I don't
true.
know, small things,
Yeah.
but big principles, you know?
No, it's so
For
true.
sure. I think it can happen a lot that people end up taking advantage, you know, and they
Yeah.
don't intend to. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
with a bad heart or anything, but kind of like even what you were saying about cooking, you know, that then the one time a week people cook, they're like, oh, I have to cook. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but you have the blessing of never cooking,
Yeah,
you know?
one time
Or
out of
like
the
when
7
people
days.
complain, oh, I don't want to clean the toilet. And
Yep.
it's like, but if you lived alone, you'd have a whole house to clean. Like
Yeah,
imagine, you
that's
know?
true.
And so it's like that other side of the coin that's like not only about using other people's stuff, but that you get so comfortable in community living that you think certain things are normal
Yeah.
that actually are not, and it's actually not okay.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Even like talking about boundaries, like something that happens a lot, especially like not just with my family, but you know, my family, we've given up, or at least my parents especially, because as an adult I've made my own decisions, but my parents have given up having their own home to live in community, you know, and so sometimes they want to have a meal, you know, it's just the family,
Yeah.
you know, but even aside of my family, sometimes we, like, especially like on the weekend, we want to cook up something, you know, and it's expensive to cook up something for everybody, you know, and sometimes we want to, you know, there's some people in our house, shout out to those of you who, you know who you are, you like to make something for everybody.
Yeah.
You
We
know
love
who you
you.
are. Yeah, we do love you.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it. Like the other day, I really wanted a cake. And Nolani, shout out to Nolani, she came through
With a
and
cookie
she made,
cake. That
yeah,
was
she made a
amazing.
cookie cake.
Best
that was
cake
amazing.
ever.
It was great. So, you know, you do have people who like want to bless everybody, and that's also their gifting, which is really amazing. But there are some times where you do want to just do something with like a nucleus of people, right? Like just a select few. And, you know, it's one hand it's money, and on the other hand as well it's like your peopled out, whatever the reason is, you know. And I think sometimes because we are under the same roof, it's just like, I smell something, what is that? You know, who's cooking? Yeah,
It looks amazing.
yeah. So
It's not. It's disgusting.
yeah,
you don't want to.
That's
Poisonous.
yeah, it's not gonna be good for you.
You're allergic.
Even the other day, my mum, it was late, whatever. My mum was like, "Oh, let's get some food," and so we went to go get KFC, and she was like, "I don't want to eat in front of people," and I was like, "Why?" You know, and she was like, "Because I just feel bad. I feel like I have to share with them," you know. And I was like, "No, you don't." Me, completely heartless. No, you don't. So she was like, "Okay, well, can we just go off to one side?" So we went to the living room, but of course, people were coming back, and they like walk into the living room, and they're like, KFC, you know. And so my mum was like, "Oh, I hate it in front of people," you know. And I get that, you know. It's also
me
like
too.
difficult because when you've got something and you know other people, maybe like, and you have like this also like this guilt, and so those boundaries sometimes it's like, okay, where do I set those boundaries to like also be loving to other people, but also like how do I also create a boundary where I also don't make other people uncomfortable, because like it's such a thin line, especially like living in such a small space. In other YWAM bases, I've been to other YWAM bases, like families or couples like have their own flat, their own home, their own kitchen, you know. We have one kitchen, well now we have two kitchens, but we only have one that's like fully decked out. And so if my dad wants to do some steak, it's like that's gonna smell up the whole house, and everybody's gonna want steak too, you know what I mean? So the moral of the story is don't cook anything that has a lot of smell, because you're gonna trigger some people. Yeah, for the good or the bad.
Yeah, like that person that made fish at 8 o'clock in the morning that one time.
Oh, that was rough.
I wanted to
not
kill
loving.
them.
That was
That was
not
rough.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's just, so it's also about being considerate, I think. Like, I think that's a huge thing that we're talking about, is just being considerate of another person's plan, of their time, of their money, of their situation. Like, your family for sure has been very generous in that, I think. And I've seen others be very generous. Like, I don't know, there's people who bring things from their country, like food from their country, and they'll share it. And they only have one thing from the one time that they went home. You know? It's like so special. And they share it. So there is that huge generosity, but it's like also being considerate on the other side.
Yeah,
Just be like, I really want whatever you have. Like, it looks delicious. It smells amazing. But actually, no, you know? I don't want to partake.
Going back to like the things that are like normal but not normal, you know.
Original question.
My original question. Sorry. You know what's not normal?
I want to hear more.
You know what's not normal? That when people go somewhere, like in this case your friends, when with your family maybe it's different, but in this case we all live with our friends, right? Yeah. But when your friends go away, they'll bring you something back, you know. I don't know, like if it's definitely not normal outside of community, but like, picture this, or like, you know, in the base, whenever any of us go out anywhere, especially when we go back to our country, but if we go out even on holiday, we're always thinking, let's bring something back for the base, you know, no matter how big or how small. So like, you know, like some people come and like, maybe they don't have money, so they bring something really, really small, but everybody's always bringing something back. So now I've kind of gotten really accustomed to that. So I'm always like, what you got? What you bring? You know?
That's true.
So, but that's actually not normal. Like if my friends went on holiday, I'd be like, how was your time? But like, I'd never expect for them to bring something back. I mean, it's not that I expect for people to bring something back, but it's like a thing.
Yeah. Is that just like a our base thing, like, or your family thing? Like, I don't know where that started, because I feel the same way. I never did that, and I've never brought anything back until this last time that I went home.
Finally,
this one. I brought back cookies.
So everybody but Bambi.
Cookies. But they're
everybody
like the
but
maple cookies.
I think for me, I wanted to bring for specific people, like. I don't know. I know Josela likes jelly beans, you know. Right, Now Julie likes white cheddar popcorn.
I love white cheddar popcorn.
But then it's like, well, I end up having a lot of people to bring stuff for, so I'm just gonna bring like a big bag of something. You know?
Yeah.
Also because I think I want people to feel thought of when I was away, or to feel like, I don't know,
remembered in a way.
Yeah. I don't know. I like that. Even though usually when people bring stuff, I actually don't want it. I'm like, looks nice, you know. It depends, obviously, but generally, I don't know. I want to come home with something, so people are like, oh, she thought of me, like while she was away, you know. Yeah. I don't know. That's, I think, my heart behind it. But I don't know if it's just our base thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something common.
Because it's true. Now that you said it, I never did that when I was growing up, or like I didn't bring back something for my friends. Yeah. I don't think I did.
Yeah.
But I think it's also so weird going off this topic, but into the same question, but just different direction. I don't know. You probably know best, or well, you've always been in community, but you with coming from like a bigger family. But I feel like it's probably kind of weird that we know what our friends' footsteps sound like, and how they go up and down the stairs, and how they close doors, and like I know who's coming up and down the stairs. I know who's closing the door. I know, like I just know.
I hear a cough. And I'm like, that's Julie.
Even like a sniffle, and I know who it is. You know, so it's crazy. Like maybe that's normal in a big family because you're used to your family. You know, but I don't know. It doesn't feel normal to me sometimes. You know,
do you like have that in your family?
I think so. I think it's mainly because like we like run up the stairs, you know, like you know who skipped 3 steps or like 2 steps, you know. But I don't think I pay so much attention as I do here, you know. Like here I'm like, oh, I know who's coming because they're so slow, or like stomping in the like, in the like stairs. But in my house it was like something normal, I guess. Like it became natural as well. Or you know, for example, my grandma will come and like do like a sound like like I'm here and I'm like, oh, that's grandma, because no one else will do it, you know. But things like that, I think in a big family you don't really realize, but then in community you're like, oh, these things are different here, you know. Also with friends, like your family is your family, but your friends, it's kind of different. You know, it's another level of like intimacy, I guess.
I speaking of another level of intimacy, I know people like when they come out like from the shower, I didn't have to see them coming out of the shower, but I smell like their perfume or like their shampoo, and I'm like, that was Abby
Yeah,
taking
the
a
other
shower.
day I came downstairs and Flo was like,
Really?
I knew it was you coming. I smelled your perfume. And I was like,
Yeah.
thanks, Flo.
Or I was in my room and I can smell Rocio was outside and I opened it. I was like, Rocio, I can smell you from my room. She's like, that's creepy. I'm like,
We're
sorry.
not that creepy for the record.
No.
Just really live close together. I think in speaking of like those boundaries and different things and maybe the frustrations that rise of the person who is running down the stairs at a certain way or slamming doors or stealing your phone charger, you know, like these little offenses.
Who you are.
These little offenses or these little frustrations, like how do you deal with that? Because obviously we can't just move out, you know.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes we might want to, you know, or like go stay somewhere overnight. We don't have that as a luxury, you know. So how do you deal with that? Especially like we don't need to get into like roommate conversations because that could be awkward for our roommates watching. Though I love you, Tatenda. I really love you. But like with situations you can't escape, you know, like it's not like you can avoid it. How do you guys deal with conflicts like that?
Good one.
I think it depends a lot on the circumstance or the person, like kind of like what you were saying, being considerate of like what's going on, you know, and on who you are. Because for me, I'm growing, but I'm not naturally a person that's gonna like shy away from calling you out. I've gotten better.
She's a type 8 in the Enneagram.
I've gotten
for those of you that
better.
might know what that means.
Type A.
I've gotten better. I've been nicer.
Oh.
Yeah, it's true.
She's
You're
giving you the
growing.
eyes.
You're growing.
Yeah, God is doing something amazing in your life, Abby.
One day you should
all
be proud.
witnesses of it.
Thank
Should be
you.
proud.
Did you hear that one?
We sound like we're joking, but we're being serious.
No,
Say in the
yeah,
comments how amazing Abby is.
Yeah.
No, but I think like there's a level of sometimes being like, okay, I need to let things go that aren't that big of a deal, you know? But at the same time, I think there is an importance in voicing those things, you know, and saying like, hey, I'm sorry, obviously being careful of like how you say it, right? But being like, actually like, this actually really bothers me that you do this, you know, that like it's my charger and you use it anyway, you know, or whatever.
Oh, back to the topic.
No. Julie always.
I've texted her.
Yeah,
For the record,
Yeah,
I've texted her and I'm like, Abby, I know you're in Canada right now,
literally,
but can I borrow your charger? It's right here. I'm technically already using it, but I'm letting you know.
Yeah. But like, I'm using the charger as like a
Yeah,
example, kind of course. But like in general, like to voice when you're like, sorry, this is my boundary, and like it feels like it's being crossed, you know. Like I think that's also really important to communicate those things because when you stop communicating that is bad territory, you know. So I think part of it is also like, of course, with love, but like being like, actually this bothers me, you know, like, and maybe the person will be like, that's so stupid, like what the heck, you know. And you can talk about it, but like, I don't know, to still say those things even if it's scary or
I feel like also
whatever.
more often than not people are like, I had no idea,
Yeah,
like
so
I'm
true.
so sorry, you know.
Yeah.
And that's also really healing too.
Yeah. And it like, not to like get super biblical here, but
Here we go.
you know, that's literally like the iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's one of the best things that I've seen about community living is that there's so many things that I feel like I wouldn't have grown in if it wasn't for the fact that people had talked to me about it, you know. But and I think because actually this is a huge taboo in most families. You don't actually, and we've always experienced this and we've said this, that like when we've come to do DTS, the way that we know the people that we're living with, even if it's just for 6 months, it's actually more than we even know our own family. But it's not necessarily because we don't know our own family. It's just because there's a lot of things that we don't actually talk about. Or there's a lot of things that we don't bring to the table, you know, and we don't say, you know, it really bothers me when you take out the charger. In one hand, I think it's because we don't have a lot of patience and love, you know. And I think it's something we need to grow in. And we tread a lot more softly with people that we don't know. And the longer that you live with people, the more like annoyed that you end up getting, or like the shorter you fuse, you know, like, but at the same time, because you are living in community and you are like also, you know, I think you're really aware of the good, bad, the ugly, but also putting the God element in the middle. And I think you do that when, well, I think, because I'm not, but I think you do that when you're married or when you're a couple, and that's what you should do. But you don't really do that a lot with your own family because, I don't know, there's always this excuse that they have to love you anyways because they're your family, you know. But in community living, you have to like really like choose to kind of walk that way.
Yeah.
And as a Christian as well. So it's not just, you know, in community, but also as a Christian.
Yeah.
So I think, and I think many times that's where we also see how much people are wanting to go that extra mile, not just in their love for one another, but also in their love for God. Because really, why do I let go of those pet peeves is because I'm actually looking, like what you were saying, at the bigger picture of like, actually this isn't that big of an issue. But the only reason I got to that point is because actually I'm walking with God and he's showing me that.
A different perspective.
Exactly. You know, but I don't think it's something that like I'd actually put time, thought and effort if I was just in my 5 family household. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I don't know. It sounds sad, but
I think it's also receiving it, you know, because we talk a lot about like you talking to like your friends about the things that also they're not the, I don't know, they annoy them or something, but also receiving it for me, like, because I'm also really stubborn, or like if you say something about me, it's like it takes me a long time to like and like I know God is working in my character and stuff like that, but I'm also receiving it, like knowing that they are trying to love me and receiving that love through that maybe confrontation or conflict is like another step as well, you know, that maybe in your family you're like like screaming at each other and you're like, but it's my family, whatever, you know, but having it with your friends and like choosing these people over that, because your family, you have your family, you don't choose them, you just have them. But your friends is like you're choosing them to love them and to like care for them and also receive that, you know, like give them also the authority to like speak over your life and to bring life as well, because sometimes we feel like, oh, they hate me because I do this, but actually they're like trying to help you. And we don't take it always like that, you know, like especially me. I always take it like, oh no, they hate me, they don't like this and whatever. But when we look at it with a bigger picture, actually it's helping you to like grow, you know. And maybe in the moment you're so angry, maybe a couple of months later you're like, oh, that makes so much more sense, you know.
So true.
Like it's not just this person, this other person like is thinking the same, but not because they hate you or something, or they want something bad for you. They just want the best, but we can see it because they're our friends, you know. And not our family.
I think we always assume the worst in people, you know, like we always assume there's some motive against us or something, you know, not only in confrontation, but also in like, I don't know, somebody's with your charger, like, you know, charger.
Topic of the podcast.
The beloved phone charger, you know. But that's been huge for me too, is to like step back, like for sure to confront when needed and whatever, but to also step back and be like, is this actually against me? Like, is this person with some level of evil intention trying to hurt me? And it's 99.999% of the time is not actually, if not 100%, you know, that it's their blind spot or cultural clashes or situations that are totally outside my perspective.
Miscommunication. Big one.
Huge. It's a lot.
Language barriers. That's a big one.
But I think it always comes down to the culture that you set, you know, because it's true, we all come from different cultures and we all like have different perspectives, opinions, but even what we were talking about, like bringing gifts or like the ask before you use, like one of the things that like we also experience a lot because we live in a small household but with a lot of people is that, you know, there's either somebody always cleaning up after everybody, or like there is we call it the James
that's a good
in our household.
So sorry if your name's James.
Yeah, I'm so sorry if you're James and you're planning to come to be with us. We're gonna have to think about it.
Have we ever had a James?
No. I don't. No, I don't think so.
Wow,
but anyways,
shocking.
James in our community is basically the person that we put the blame on because nobody's taking responsibility, because we don't have a James.
Like a ghost.
So this broke. Oh, it was James.
It was James,
no
clearly, because nobody. Yeah, exactly. And so many times, you know, like we have to like sit down and say like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. It's loving each other, you know. But these are things that like you set as a culture that then everybody else is kind of following, and then that then reciprocates and it also multiplies like the thing of like bringing gifts to people, you know. I don't know how that started but like now it's a thing, you know, and it's cute, it's really nice. Or like, I don't know, there was a time when nobody would fill up the water jug filter, you know, but I can't remember when was the last time that was empty.
Like the two that fill it up the most, right?
Also, there was a season that also I think was God, though. I feel like God was like really trying to teach me something, because every time I went to go get water, it was empty.
It was always empty.
And I was always angry, and God was like,
yeah.
You know, let's talk about that.
Maybe you're the person that right now has to see it, but I haven't seen it like empty for like the longest time.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
But
divine timing.
But it's been something that, like, you know, it's worked over, but it's like a culture that you create.
Yeah.
We see that change. Like when you go to somebody else's house, it's a different culture. When you go to somebody else's church, it's a different culture and a different base, you know. But you do have to kind of create, and you also create the culture that you care about. So I think it's also really important to like set those things that you do care about. One of the things that we really care about, and it could be because my family like are there, but we care about family and making space and time for family. We really like celebrate people, individuals, their accomplishments, but also like birthdays. That's huge.
That's true.
And it's something that like in some households, again, another thing, like it's so mundane perhaps. But
it's so true.
I don't know.
Well, this has been really special, I think, because I actually thought we'd complain a lot about community living. Like, not complain, but be like, yeah, it's hard. And like, we face challenges. And though we did talk about different things, like, I feel like we always come back to the point of being really blessed and being really grateful for the things that God's given us, you know? And I think I even experienced that myself. Like, when I am, I don't know, I'm like cruising, I'm like, oh man, I wish I had my own room, or like I want to just have my own kitchen or whatever. And then in the moments that life is hard, I've never been so thankful rather than to have so many people around me, you know?
Like COVID.
Like we were really blessed in COVID, you know? There's people who really like suffered so much of loneliness and different things, but we were okay, you know? And also different seasons that I've not been okay, that I don't know, I walk in a room and people are like, you okay? Can I pray for you? Like, or can I be with you? Can I eat some, like, I don't know, like, have you eaten today? Like, let me make sure. And that's so rare, you know? Surely that's something in your family, but as adults, like as a 31-year-old adult, I could either be married with my own family or I could be living on my own and not have that level of care, you know? And so there's something really beautiful and special about community living as a whole, but also, like you're saying, about the culture that we've created, I think. And so I'm really thankful for that. I'm really thankful that we can sit and talk and be like, actually, this is a blessing. You know?
It's true.
Because it could be easy to just talk about it as such a like a difficult thing we have to face as like for his cause, you know? And I think none of us really see it that way. It's like there's moments for sure.
For sure.
But more often or majority of the time, it's actually such a blessing to live like this.
For sure.
So yeah, that's good. No,
that's good.
So if this didn't encourage you to come join our family, have a personal invitation, come join our family.
We'll keep doing this until you come.
But I hope this also can give you a little bit more insight into our perspective, our backgrounds, what it looks like, also our context that we're coming from. Like surely we'll talk about other topics, but might help as well for the first official episode to know our context so that you can understand our jokes or something a little bit. Because maybe we have inside jokes, but we want to bring you inside. We don't want you outside our inside jokes, you know? Even if by the time we explain them, they're not funny anymore. But we'll try. So thanks for joining us again for officially part 1. And we hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.